Get ready for a rowdy night of country music on the Quincy Riverfront, July 18th at the Gym City Concert Series at Lincoln Park, featuring Gavin Adcock,
Since you don't know how to act, run your mouth, don't look back.
Graham Barham,
Tonight I'm counting on you, whiskey.
and DJ Cliffy D. Get your tickets now at GymCityConcerts.com. The Gym City Concert Series with Gavin Adcock, July 18th, presented by On the Rail Sports Bar and Grill, Peachtree Entertainment, and Coyote Country 99.5 WCOY.
So there's two pods that Bob lets me do here.
I saw
He lets
those.
me do Frankie Say every other week.
Which is this?
Which is this. This is the serious. This is the serious pod where we talk about very important things and have a good time.
Yeah.
And then there's the other pod with Josh Klitz, owner of the bar Hooligans, down here in Cafftown. Speaking of Cafftown, my guest today is the Cattleman. Is it Cattleman or Cattleman?
It started out as Cattleman. It's kind of Cattle Guy now on X, but it's
Well, I've got
whatever.
X up.
It's I raise cattle. I raise a lot of beef, so that's kind of the thing.
So Steve Lucie, I've got your Twitter handle, your X handle here. It's Cattleman or Cattle Guy 92.
There you go.
It says cattle, axes and chainsaws, hashtag yes to meat, lifting is life, working hands make the man, and the director at Awake, Illinois. Oh, you're approaching 23,000 followers, and you're followed by one of my favorite people in the whole world. Well, let me back that up. One of my favorite people is Jason McCoy.
Yeah, mine too.
And he follows you. But this other gentleman I'm talking about is Thomas Massey. The Thomas Massey follows you. So if Tom Massey's going to follow you, then I'm going to follow you.
That was kind of unique when he followed me. I don't remember what sort of triggered that, but yeah, we were talking about ag or something. He was talking about USDA stuff, I think, or some bill, and I don't remember. It's been a year ago or so since he followed me, I think.
Now, I know you've been on Fox News and Newsmax, and I know you're getting like deeper and deeper into media, but I get the impression that you as a man, maybe you've evolved over time, but maybe like the essence of you hasn't changed that much over the years. Am I close to being right about that?
I would say I haven't changed that much. I say lifting is life because I just did a post, I think it was yesterday. Yesterday was my birthday. I was 56.
Oh, wow. Happy birthday.
So I did a post of it, had a picture of me when I was in my 30s. And I weighed like, I don't know, 250 or 60 pounds. I was just, getting a little bit more out of shape and stuff. So I started working out a lot harder and eating healthier. And so I always like to tell people about that if they want to ask me or want to learn about it. It's like, yeah, that's why I say lifting is life. I think if we don't maintain our muscle mass as we grow older, we're going to have trouble walking around, and it shortens our lifespan. So
Yeah.
I think that's something I've found. My kids are obviously athletes, all of them, so I'm used to that kind of lifestyle. So
I think the whole lifting, the muscle mass thing, has always been thought of as something that's really important from a common sense perspective. As you get older, I always make the analogy, let's say you're a 60, 70, 80-year-old person, and really this can happen at any point in life, but imagine it's a wintry day. You're getting out of your car. You're in the grocery store parking lot. And as you get out of your car, you slip on some ice when you're trying to shut the door and lock it.
yeah,
As you're slipping around, you have to tighten your core. If you have a real loose core, you don't have a strong kind of a constitution.
Yeah.
First of all, if you fall, that's going to be a problem. But just pulling yourself together. So it's little things like functional fitness. When you say lifting is life, to me, it's such an integral part. I used to hear these things, like Coach Mansell, who was my wrestling coach back in the day.
he was the man.
He's the man, and he would say, hopefully, boys, men, we're all young men, and he would say, things like, hopefully you always kind of do this. Hopefully you always have this killer instinct, this taking care of yourself, doing push-ups and sit-ups. You wake up. I heard him say one time, this is back in the 90s, he would say, when you wake up in the morning, a man doing some air squats, doing some push-ups, doing some sit-ups by the foot of your bed. You can wake up, thank God that you're alive, have some meditation with the Creator, and then go to work for 10, 15 minutes before you do anything. And that will set the stage for the rest of your day.
I mean, work ethic's a big thing, and that's part of it, I think. Yeah. Functional fitness wise for myself, this morning I unloaded half a hay rack of hay. I unloaded like 45, 50 bales of hay just by myself. I didn't have anybody around today, so threw some hay off, and stuff like that is what I do a lot every day, on and off, on the farm. There's heavy things to lift, so you have to be able to function and do that. And I think that's part of staying in shape. If you're not functional, then for my aspect of it, I can't manage my ranch and do my job if I'm not able to lift heavy things, right? And my Twitter X, axes and chainsaws. I've a lot of times you'll see me. What Fox News had me on a video when I was carrying an axe around timber, and I just spouted off something on a video, So I always have an axe in the side by side. I'm always got a tool with me, like an axe. I carry a chainsaw around. There's always trees falling down here and there, and we burn wood in the winter. My whole family burns wood. We have wood stoves, so we cut a lot of wood in the wintertime. And my sons, you're familiar with them, but we did that a lot for some training sometimes too.
Oh yeah, so if Jack and Will are listening, definitely big shout out to Jack and Will. I don't know if they remember me or not, but I definitely coached them for a very short period of time with the great Adam Steinkamp. And you guys would drive, you and I were talking about this in the green room about how, you guys would be in West Hancock and you're looking for places to train. And you were the kind of family where you weren't just complacent with sticking around in your own neck of the woods. You would poke your head out and see, where can we go? Where can we go as a family? Like a father and his sons going somewhere to train. You guys would come to QND.
Yeah.
That was back when there was the Quincy Cyclones wrestling program.
And people like that, QND, we would even train with Quincy High sometimes. Yeah. Or we would go to Iowa City and train. But QND especially, Coach Mansell and all you guys, Adam, the Haley boys, you remember the Haleys?
Yeah.
They became our family. And, West Hancock, we're supposed to hate QND, right? I mean, there's this huge rivalry. Every time we go to the pit to play basketball, it's like, oh, man, we got to go to QND. And I'm sitting there saying, we love them. We love QND. When we would go to regionals or sectionals, if we weren't opposed, on the mat to somebody like Darren Stevens, and he was a great kid too, but we would always root for QND, on the sectionals and state when they had kids going to state, Jeffrey Haley and Zachary, that was our family. So, and it still is to this day. I talk to those guys. We ride horses together sometimes.
Oh, that's amazing.
So, I mean, it was just a family thing to us.
That's
it's a nice place to train. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What QND's really good at rolling out the red carpet for a lot of people. To be honest, like a family like yours, when you guys enter in, you guys come on the level so quickly that it's easy for the QND people to adapt.
Yeah.
And I believe it's like that for like a lot of the QHS like families too.
I think
being
so.
pretty adaptable. I think Quincy it's easy to be a smaller town, either north, east, west, south of Quincy, and not and have this rivalry of a bigger population that might have a bigger number of students in the school, and then there's lots of competition. But I'll tell you what, the Lucie boys, when they came, they tore up all of our kids.
Well,
they tore them all up.
They were taught a good work ethic. I was taught a good work ethic from my father and my grandfather on the farm, and my sons are going to be the 6th generation of our family operation. So we've had a long line of hard work ethic. Wrestling was kind of a new sport to us. I didn't wrestle. They kind of picked that up when they were in, I don't know, 1st and 3rd grade maybe, or I forget now, kindergarten and 2nd grade, something like that. It's been a long time, but really it was a nice thing for them because that work ethic of wrestling, they already had that from working on the farm for all those years. So I think that translated a little bit.
Can I shift gears and talk to you and ask you a question that's burning inside my heart right now?
Yeah.
I know the great Tom Massey follows you on X, and I've liked Massey for a long time. I'm kind of a Rand Paul kind of guy. I I heard Trump the other day say that Rand Paul has bad hair, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, Mr. President, you need to check yourself with the hair comments, buddy.
Right.
But have you seen the Tom Massey and DJT's spar?
Yeah.
Their online spar.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Do you pick a side there? So can we talk about it? So Massey is saying that he doesn't like the big beautiful bill very much. DJT is, like Mr. President, is saying that he obviously likes the bill, and there's this spar. Do you feel conflicted, on that?
I mean, do I feel conflicted? No, because at the end of the day, it's not that I don't care about those people. I do care about them as humans and people, and they are our leaders right now in this country, but they're no different to me than you are. They're just another person that I respect because of their positions, but I don't really care what they do with each other and back and forth. So I think, where Massey's coming from is probably the same place where I would come from. Yeah, I like Trump. I mean, we didn't have a choice the last election. We absolutely had to pick him, in my mind. We couldn't have the other thing. We had 4 years of the other thing, and it wasn't working. It was trying to kill my way of life. It was raising beef and a lot of other problems that we can get into later. But I say this a lot you might have seen it on my X. Donald J. Trump is not your savior. He's not coming here to save you. He's not going to save everybody in this country. Everything that he does isn't going to be perfect. And if someone like Thomas Massey says, hey, you know what? I don't think that's okay, Trump. I don't like that. And here's the reasons why. He usually gives a reason. And I think that's a good thing, honestly. I think that's a solid communication that we need to have in this country.
Yeah, it's what is it with just the lay people, like the voters? Let's just call them Americans. I'm calling them lay people, but I'm really talking about people who aren't holding public office. 99.999% of the entire country are not holding political office.
Right.
And it seems to me, so if you vote for somebody, sometimes I think people get the impression that when you vote for somebody, you have to agree with everything. You have to back them. You have to defend that person over and over. And what are your feelings on that? I think so. For example, the current president. I think there's good Trump and bad Trump. And I remember learning very, very early on that I remember when Barack Obama was running for president, and I remember listening to that 2004 Democratic National Convention speech that the junior senator from Illinois gave. I was very impressed with the speech that Obama gave. Knowing that I wasn't going to vote for a guy like that, I wasn't going to do that, but I remember thinking, man, that is a really good speech. And I remember saying it out loud, and someone said, no, it wasn't. It was crap. I'm like, well, hold on a second. I think what you're trying to tell me is you're not going to vote for him. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that was a good speech. So, for example, I remember Barack Obama's, I did not vote for Barack Obama, but I remember one of his State of the Union addresses when he said he was speaking to a certain demographic of people that didn't finish high school. And during his SOTU address, Obama said, when you intentionally screw up your grades in high school, when you drop out of high school, you're kind of quitting on your country. That's wrong. I remember being a younger person than I am now, thinking to myself, yeah, I agree with that. I liked hearing things like that. And I don't really hear these kind of things as much anymore. But going back to good Trump, bad Trump, when Trump does something good that I like, I go, that's good Trump. And if he does something that I don't like, it's like, I disagree. Why do people feel like they have to defend the person that they voted for?
Well, I think because people are fickle, I think, honestly. I mean, I say a lot of times people are weak. And I don't mean that like physically weak. I just mean like weak in their minds a little bit. They want so much to be right. They want to follow. And we saw it in COVID. People wanted to follow the leader. That was the thing to do, to wear the mask, to do all the stuff, because we want to be on the right side. We want to follow. And it was hard to go against that. Mm-hmm. So, as far as Obama, go back to him. he was a great speaker. He's going to go down as one of the greatest speakers because he was smart and he said things that resonated with everybody. That's why he got elected, I think. That's why he's probably still popular today. But I looked at his actions, and I do the same thing with Trump. I'm looking at his actions. I don't like some of the things he says. I don't like how he speaks. Sometimes people, I can do that. I'm a cattle guy. Who cares what I say when I'm out in the woods talking about stuff, right? I'm not on the highest podium as the President of the United States. Some people don't like the things that he says and how he says them. But what are his actions? He's closed the border. We wanted that, you know. He's got inflation. There was a little bump lately, but it's down pretty good. You know, we're starting to be more energy dependent ourselves, energy independent, you know, using our energy. There's a lot of good things he's done. He's protecting girls' sports. He's trying to at the federal level, what he can do. And I mean, that's a whole other subject. But I just think if you look at some of the actions he's taken, they've been valid. And on a world stage, it looks to me like, I have 2 sons in the military, it looks to me like we're in a better position as far as our country, maybe, in a safer position. That's what it looks like to me. That's my opinion. People might argue with me, but I think if you look at actions, he's got some good actions, but he's got some, you know, maybe character flaws, let's put it that way. We all have that, though.
I mean, we all have character flaws, and I think most people, so you got half the country that would definitely vehemently agree that he's got character flaws. And let's just call it out. There is a little bit of a narcissistic, petty way about the Don.
Yeah.
About the Teflon Don. There is something there.
Yeah.
And if he were able to kind of diminish that, erase it, I mean, that means that he's no longer himself anymore. So this is kind of impossible. I don't think we can change him. And he's not going to change.
Should we?
No.
I don't think we should change people.
No, we shouldn't. Just let him be. But I will tell you, when you're saying that we didn't have a choice the last time, that's how I felt. I felt that there was not a choice. It was, if I voted the other way, I'm voting for the oligarchy who is, in my opinion, this is how I felt. I felt like the president at the time, President Biden, I felt like he was not firmly at the helm. And I think that there were people behind him in his cabinet, his staffers, his advisors, were pulling the strings. And I think that's kind of been somewhat proven with the auto pen.
Yeah.
We're finding out now that all these pardons were used with like literally an auto pen, where it's like, this is not the president's signature, and the president may not have known anything about it. And it's possible. My question during the last election was, who is running the country? Who is running the country?
We had that question a lot. A lot of people, you know, with my mindset had that question. We know it wasn't Joe.
Right.
Because you can see through his actions. You can literally look at him and see through actions that it probably cannot be him.
Right.
So who's doing it? And, you know, I went from everything from Jill. I really did. I thought maybe she had a lot more control than what people realized, all the way to Barack.
Yeah.
And I don't know as we'll ever know that. You know, the auto pen thing is, in my opinion, it's kind of tragic. And I think it should be wiped out completely. I believe Bush started it.
Okay.
So that's another thing people don't know. I believe he started it. And, you know, yeah, does it make things maybe more efficient, whatever? I don't know. If you can't just sit down as the president and sign your name to stuff and look at it, as an American tax-paying citizen, I don't know if I want that.
Every EO should have a unique, singular signature of the man, I would say, or woman, but we haven't had a woman president yet, so I'll just say man,
right.
of the man who wrote it, and you can tell it's his signature. And the dotting of the I might not be the exact same spot every single time, and that's how you know it's unique and singular. That's how you know.
When you sign something, whether it's a mortgage or a lease or what have you, I don't know, buy a car, you have to sign that. And you look at that. You should read it, but a lot of people maybe don't. But you're looking at it, or somebody's talking to you, and it puts thought into your head. It makes you think. It makes you wonder, okay, should I be asking a question about this? And that's another thing that I think is wrong with this country. People don't question anything anymore. And somebody like me that questions everything, they think I'm a lunatic half the time because I question things. But when you have to see that, I think it at least puts thought in your head what I'm signing. When it's just like, hey, just sign whatever with AutoPen, you don't think about it.
Well, I can't imagine if I went to a used car dealership to buy a vehicle and I just come up with a stamp and I just do this to it.
Right.
I mean, they're not going to let me do that. They're going to be like, what are you doing? You have to physically, write it. So another reason why I didn't think we had a choice last time, because that border was wide open. That border was wide open. There were people just flying through that border. Now, what is your opinion on whether or not a nation should have a secure border or not?
My opinion is we're not a nation if we do not have a secure border.
Do you feel like it's a stupid question?
I kind of think it's a stupid question, but it's a valid question today because there's so many people that you see. I mean, you see protests over the border, right?
Yeah.
You see protests over sending people back. I'm sorry that these people broke the law and maybe they were misguided, probably by some of our other administration or whoever. They were misguided by nefarious people to come here and think they could be here, but they did not go through the proper channels. And I think that takes away from our legal immigrants, for one thing. How do they feel? How do the people feel that came here legally and had to go through the school and go through the classes and do what they needed to do to take that oath to be an American citizen when we're letting millions of others just walk in free? And I mean, that doesn't even address the issue of the criminals. I believe they're all criminal because they're here illegally. That is a crime under the Constitution. I don't think they need to be treated as bad as hardened criminals that are murdering people, but if we don't have a solid border, we really don't have a country. And where are we going to be then?
Well, I mean, this idea of them being criminals the second they set foot across the border, that's what I think they are, only because there's federal statutes that say that.
I'm glad you said that. I mean, that gets misjudged a lot or mislabeled, I'll say. Everybody's like, well, they're not a criminal. They didn't do it. They didn't cut somebody up or kill somebody or steal a car. They just literally walked across. It's a 12-year-old boy walking across trying to find a better life. Can't call him a criminal. We need to accept him and blah, blah, blah. Well, he did commit a crime against our Constitution because we have that in our federal law. And if we're going to throw all that away, then A, we don't have the country that so many people have died and defended to save, and B, anybody can do any crime.
If you're going to have lawlessness, then it sounds like you're going to have to cherry pick the stuff that you like, because even the people who are for the open border kind of situation, coming across, it's like they're cherry picking. They're saying that's okay. We should allow that to happen. I got to tell you, it's been a long time since I've gotten a speeding ticket. Okay, but if you've ever gone down Highway 61 towards St. Louis,
yeah,
there is a place, kind of when you're getting to Troy,
goes to 60 on you.
It goes to 60. And you know what? I've gotten 2 speeding tickets in my life, Steve. One of them was chasing a girl down Veterans Parkway in Bloomington. I really regret that one. That one was stupid.
Did you catch her?
No. We had broken up, and I thought I was going to try to fix this girl. None of that worked. Completely. First speeding ticket. I think I was doing like 65 and a 30. But anyway, almost got arrested for that one. But the second speeding ticket I got was a couple years ago. Going to St. Louis, I'm not paying attention. I'm moving, I think I was doing 71, 72, right into that 60 mile an hour zone. You know what I'm talking about there?
Yeah, I know exactly.
Troy, Wentzville,
yeah.
down on
Whenever
61.
someone else is driving in my car, kids or wife or whoever, I'm like, hey, it's 60 here. We're not going 75 here. Let's tone it down.
There are signs all over the place that says fines will be doubled. It's very hilly. Whoever the law is around there, they're not screwing around, and they love giving tickets. So I got a ticket. Got pulled over. I tried to explain to the officer, who was really nice to me. He was like, do you know why I pulled you over? And I go, no. He goes, you were speeding. I go, how fast was I going? He goes, well, so you don't know. I go, well, I was doing 71. He goes, so you're doing 11 over. So you are speeding. I go, what's it? No, the speed limit's 65 or whatever.
You're doing math.
He's like, no, it's 60. I go, well, I didn't know that. And he said that the fact that I didn't know that I broke the law is not an excuse. And this is how I feel. It's like you've got people that are being tempted, that are being courted by the previous administration, saying, come on over, come on over. They're lifting the fence practically. The Border Patrol is standing. They're ordered to stand down. You remember when Texas threw a fit over it?
I do.
Texas is like,
no, we're not having this.
we're not doing this. Yeah. And so now you got the state arguing with the feds. And so now this
federal lawsuit over it.
Yeah.
They tried to stop Texas from doing it. They did temporarily.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
But
then,
it's just
then you're into states' rights issues and all kinds of stuff.
The states' rights issues are a really interesting thing. I think I had this old English teacher at QND that would teach us about federalism, about how federalism sounds like it's all about the feds and the feds are in controls, and that's not what it is. Federalism, as you know, of course, is states' rights. It's the idea that you've got a federal government, and then you have 50 individual laboratories of freedom that are their own nation states, and we agree to unite under the umbrella. But each one of those little bitty, they're called states because they're mini baby laboratories of freedom. They're nation states.
Yeah.
And they have sovereign power against the feds. And what is that, the 10th Amendment? There's all different kinds of amendments, of course, to the Constitution that state this. And I'm not a constitutionalist. Well, I'm a constitutionalist, but I'm not a constitutional expert. I'm not a legal scholar. But I love the fact that we could sit here and argue, not you and I, but just people can argue in general about what should happen in Illinois. How are our rights being infringed in Illinois? Or how is Illinois the best state? Or how about this? How great is it that Illinois has so many cornfields, soybean fields, cattle ranches, places in Illinois where you've got this flat, beautiful, gorgeous topsoil that some countries in the world would kill for. To have our soil.
That's a good point.
From that perspective, Illinois is helping to feed the world. So there's really great things.
The American farmer feeds 300 some million people in this country plus others. So yeah, we do a good job of that. Illinois, current administration in Illinois the past few years is doing all they can to make someone like me go out of business as a family farmer and open it up to a bigger entity, a corporate farm or something like that. Our taxes have gone up. Illinois taxes, they've gone up so much that cost of production with taxes involved is right now we have $3.70 per bushel corn. We've got a great corn crop out there, but it's worth the same amount as it was in 1970, and we're paying 2025 prices. Plus we're paying 2025 taxes, which are way higher. So our cost of production is way higher than what our return is going to be on some of this stuff. And I think I'm kind of people want to call me conspiracy guy. I don't know. Maybe I am, but I think there's a reason for all this pressure against farmers, especially in Illinois, because if we sort of shut up and get out of the way, if you think about it, these rural people really are the only resistance in Illinois to these policies. And I saw that firsthand when I don't know if you want to get into that, but during COVID, when I started We Stand for Our Students, a local group, and then got with Awake Illinois, and we eventually had to sue our governor for the rights of our children in school, and we won. A lot of people don't realize that, but that's why the mask came off a little early in 2021, because we won. We beat him. But if we do not do something to maintain our local control and local sovereignty in some of these areas of our state, we're going to look like Chicago. I don't know, I heard a rumor you might be a Chicago guy or something. Which I
was so red-pilled, they kicked me out of there.
Yeah, there you go. I have wonderful friends in the suburbs. colleagues from Awake, Illinois, which, by the way, you mentioned that I was a director. We have, on July 4th, we basically said that we were stepping back. Awake, Illinois has done its job. We woke people up. We woke people up to what was going on. So we think our time, doing advocacy in Illinois is pretty much done. We filed federal lawsuits and against Title IX civil complaints against the governor and against some schools in Illinois, and that's working its way up the chain. I'm told that it's like the number 2 on priority list now with the federal Title IX investigation. So hopefully we'll see some big things come out of that, and that's things that we did. Local people, local moms and dads, and local voices took that stuff all the way to the top. And I think that's the key in Illinois. You have to have local, good people in charge of your local politics, and that will eventually bleed to the top. We can't have a top down; it doesn't work.
Right. Do you have, when you're talking about the Illinois state government kind of trying to find a way to, am I reading you correctly? Am I saying this the right way? That maybe it feels like the Illinois state government is trying to get rid of the individual family farmer and move to more of a corporate farming entity. Is that what you said?
I believe that's true. I believe that wholeheartedly.
I want to explore.
I think the Democrats were trying to do that in the last administration. I mean, you had Thomas Massey's a good resource for this too, but you had so much push. It was really, my wife and I talk about this. I kind of toned it down on Fox News. I said they were doing nefarious things, but honestly, there was literally a war on beef. They tried to convince people that a cow farting was going to kill the environment.
Yeah.
And I do videos, you've probably seen them,
Yeah.
where I show the green areas where, I've done this for over 30 years. My family's been here for 5 generations. We know how to take care of the environment. People like me and all across the state understand how to do that. We don't need the state telling us that cows are going to kill the environment when we know better than that. We know that they are actually helping our environment on our own farm. So again, you look at actions compared to words.
It shocks me though, when I try to see, what I like to do is, Steve, I like to go in and explore and almost steel man the other side. Not because I'm kissing their ass or anything like that. I like to get in there and surgically trying to figure out.
All right, I agree.
Why would a government
want
to
that?
shut down the small guys and bring
Yeah.
in corporate entities? I got to tell you.
Money.
But can I skip to the end?
Yeah.
There was a Democratic mayoral primary in New York City a couple weeks ago. It was between, I don't know if you saw this or not, it was between Andrew Cuomo, who was the previous governor of New York, and this new guy. He was an assemblyman, which is like a politician in city government in New York. And this guy's name is like Zohran Mamdani or something like that. And in an interview, he was talking to this reporter, and he said the following. He was smiling like in like this sinister way, and I'm listening to what he's saying. And he was talking about how the reporter asked him, "Do you think billionaires should exist?" And he's smiling, and he's like kind of giving his response, and he goes, "No, I don't think they should exist." And he gives his reasons why. And at the end, he says, and he squirts this in. He says the phrase, "seizing the means of production." So do you know? Seizing the means of production. When the Illinois state government is trying to control who is producing, it looks like to me that they are trying to seize the means of production. And there was a very famous philosopher who wrote that in the Communist Manifesto. The guy's name is Karl Marx.
Right.
So you've got this general feel of the United States where you and I were talking about why Trump got elected. And I think doing the postmodern, or the postmortem on these kinds of things is very important. And I don't think we can beat it to death enough to make people, you're talking about being the director of Illinois Wake, to understand how when you don't feel like you have a choice, when you think you are involved in kind of a secular materialism, this away from the old and into the new, like getting rid of all of the old stuff. This is what I feel like society's doing. I feel like that's called progressivism. Conservatism is supposed to be more of like holding on to the things that you know are good and true that have virtue. But like this Democratic primary in New York, where this guy's probably going to win. This guy, this Mamdani guy,
It's concern.
he's probably going to win. He is a communist.
It's a very big concern, and I mean, why? Why are they doing that? You know,
Why are they doing that?
Why are the people in New York voting for this? Why are the people in Illinois voting for what we have right now? When you literally have a governor and a super majority that, not only am I concerned, they're trying to control me through taxes and whatever else they can add on to me, regulations, anything that you can think of that helps get them control over my business. They're trying to do. But what is worse, they're trying to control our next generation of children. That's a big thing that Awake started with in schools. You know, what is going on with these schools? That the state is laying down all these DEI initiatives and these woke initiatives, and they're allowing girls to be in boys' sports on the track and field and in their bathrooms, boys in girls' bathrooms. And, we filed some lawsuits against that. But that is control of your children. That's taking the control away from you as a parent and giving it to the state. And when the state has control of your children, I think that's just as bad as or worse than controlling your food supply, is it not?
I mean, it's such an egregious overreach. So it's one thing to poison the food, which I kind of feel like, have you ever heard that inside a supermarket, everything around the perimeter of the supermarket is the fresh stuff and everything on the inside, it's all boxed,
Right.
It is the processed poison. It's getting control of the food supply, getting control of the water supply. And you've got guys like Bobby Kennedy Jr. that's talking about the fluoride in the water. So we're talking about the control over the water. When you are a parent and you think the state, so we're talking about the state now, we're talking about capital S. So lowercase s state is Illinois, Missouri, Iowa, Indiana. Upper class S state is the state,
Right.
the government. There's this weird inflection point where I think parents have looked around. So are you Gen X? Are you I'm not trying to label you into some type of generation.
I'm
Gen X.
saying I am. I'm 56 years
I
old.
think-
I was born in 1969.
So you're at the early part of Gen X. So you're not a boomer.
I mean, I drank out of the garden hose.
I drink out of the gardens too. So I'm not far behind you. I think I'm only a few years younger than you. But I mean, I remember us the way that we grew up. I don't really remember the 70s as well. You remember the 70s a little bit better than
I do.
me. I was born during Ford, and the next day Carter got inaugurated.
Okay.
So that tells you right where I am.
Yeah.
So when I'm in 82, 83, living up, I remember the Super Bowl Shuffle when the Bears
the
came
80s
around.
were fantastic.
The 80s were unbelievable. But when
We
you
can
go,
drink to that.
when you come through the 80s, and then you become a father, and if you're a rural person and you're a right-thinking person, and you understand and you look around, and you see the government, the capital S state, coming for all of these different things, that's one thing. But when they come for the kids, that is not smart.
No.
It's almost like you would want to come, if you're a nefarious, sinister state, you would want to come after the kids the very, very last thing that you ever do, because that's going to incur some kind of wrath. And I think we, guys like you, have been guys like you, and I don't want to compare me and you in the same breath, because anybody watching that really knows you, they'll be like, don't you dare compare yourself to Steve Lucie, because Steve Lucie is really like doing like the Lord's work, and I'm like kind of a second tier guy here. But what I'm saying is, when you come for the children, that is inviting a war. It's actual like, it's a cold war. It's not a hot war. Like we're not brandishing firearms over this.
Well,
what we're doing is we're brandishing our voices.
Well, yeah, and our voices became super important, and that's why this last election went the way it did. I think a lot of that had to do with our children. What happened throughout COVID, which I don't give Trump a pass on COVID either. Right. He was in there.
Right.
He started that. You know, yeah, the states were worse. I mean, our state was one of the worst.
One of the worst.
But we didn't change. The people in this state didn't change because of that. So that makes me concerned. Are those people, I say it all the time, won't you stand up for your own kids? If you're not standing up for your daughters who have to go in a bathroom in Deerfield, Illinois, and there's a boy in there because the school says that's okay because he decided he's a girl that day, if you're not going to go to the school board en masse and stand up and voice your opinion for your own daughters, then I don't expect you to vote for a Republican in Illinois. I mean, I see that that's lost. But nationwide, it's different. I mean, I think, you know, there was enough people that had the courage to do things like that. I'm really good friends with a lot of the Moms for Liberty moms, some of them out east. I've met some of those ladies, and they're fierce warriors, just as fierce as you or I might be in protecting their kids. And that was a huge movement, and that made a difference in this country, I think.
Yeah.
And so, you know, people like us, that's probably the only reason I'm on here today. That's probably the only reason that I put posts on Twitter and things of that nature. I want to educate people that it's okay to have your voice in this country. It's the First Amendment right. You don't have to agree with me. But if you hear me, maybe you're going to understand my side of it. Maybe you're going to think about it.
Yeah.
You know, and I try to think about the other side as well. I mean, people can challenge me on stuff, and I will listen and think about that. I think we have to do that as a country. I think we would move forward better.
I look at the American experiment and I think to myself, I can't believe it's still going. Now I have grave concerns about the future of the country, but in the past I have not been hopeful. I'll tell you, the very first time Trump won, so I'm traditionally a libertarian kind of a guy, and that gets me into trouble with some of my staunch Republican friends. So Steve, I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of guys that you and I know, like the Jason McCoys, like the hardcore, like the real patriots, okay? Mm-hmm. And we can name drop back and forth on all the patriots in the area. I make the joke, and I don't know if you think it's very funny, but if the shit ever hits the fan, I tell a lot of my friends, I don't know if you're going to join my militia or I'm going to join yours. I don't know, but I'm going to be ready, right? Now, I would say in this case, jokingly, because I don't want you to get a bunch of hate mail, but I'm joining your militia if it ever comes down to it, because mine's going to be small and yours is going to be big. But
mine might be smaller than you think.
Really?
It might be. I don't know. But I know this, that, you know, the people that would be by my side would be people that I would get in front of the, you know, I would get in the fray with for sure.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be people that, I just had this conversation with a good friend of mine, Jessica Hockett, about, she pointed out that, you know, well, a lot of these people say that, well, this guy, he has this view, but he's charming. He's a nice guy. He's charming. Well, she points out, I'm not going into a battle with a guy that's charming.
Yeah.
I'm going into a battle with Steve or somebody like that.
Right.
You know, and
well, charming. Well, that's
right.
that's back to the Mamdani thing. Well, like how he beat out Andrew Cuomo is like,
look at
Mamdani is charming.
Barack is too.
One of the most charming guys ever.
100%.
He's going to go down. You said it. He's going to go down in history. Already, he's done in history as one of the greatest orators of all time. I mean, you got Lincoln, JFK, Baraka H. You know.
And people that argue that I can't believe you say something nice about Barack. You know, blah blah blah. You got to call a spade a spade.
I'm just saying.
The guy's policies were really hurtful to me and my lifestyle. I lost my health insurance. You know, if you like your plan, you can keep your plan. That was BS. Right. That was bullshit. That didn't happen.
Correct.
Self-employed people like myself, you know, we struggled in that time.
Yes.
And so
we lost our health insurance too.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I don't like all the people whining and complaining now. Oh my gosh, we're cutting Medicaid, we're cutting this, we're cutting that. Some of that needs to be cut. We need to cut some of those people off the Medicaid rolls, and they can go to work.
All they're doing is moving the number of hours you have to work.
That's all they're doing.
They're not cutting people off of Medicaid. It's just like I make the joke. I go to a Catholic church and I have to have a certain number of masses. And if I don't go to some number of masses, I get kicked into the non-parishioner. They make me pay more. Well, I mean, I've been complaining about this all over town. But the truth of the matter is, they've got the right to do that, and you got to do this with the Medicaid stuff.
That's a tough complaint in this town.
Oh man, nobody will listen to me. Nobody wants to hear.
Quincy's a Catholic town.
Nobody wants to hear my belly aching. I'll tell you.
But at least you're doing it. At least you're getting your voice out. That's your right.
Get my voice out,
That's
and I'm
your right.
paying more, and I'm not pulling my kids out of private school to send them to the state. I'm sticking to my guns because the Constitution and the beautiful Ten Commandments are hanging above the door.
I say this so many times. If we do not live our freedoms every day, like all these people that are serving us today in our country and the ones that did serve us, Jason McCoy, a veteran.
Yep.
If we do not live our freedoms every day, we're not doing them the service that they are owed. We're doing them a disservice.
I agree.
And I think that's one of the most important things that I think we need to all do in this country. And some of the things going on now where the other side, I will say, some of these people that are attacking ICE officers and doing violent things, I don't think that's not living your freedom. That's breaking the law. So don't get that twisted.
Yep.
That's what
It's such an interesting thing because in the past, being very libertarian, I've often thought that I generally have a problem, and I don't care if the feds are listening to this, because
they are.
The feds know that I'm a patriot and I side with the United States. Okay, I'm America first. Okay, I've got all of these opinions about whether or not we should be bombing Iran, giving Israel money. I've got all of these opinions. Giving Ukraine $120 billion. I got all of these opinions, right? But I am America first person, and I feel like I'm doing my best to serve my country in a non-military way. And if I ever had to get called up and go fight, I know if we ever got invaded, I'll tell you what, if we ever got invaded, I am so in. You don't even need to call me. I'll be at your front door with a pitchfork, a rifle, a butter knife. I'm ready to go. So the butter knife will be sharp. Can I ask you a question?
You have been.
I have been. I gotta. There's one more.
I'm sorry. I'm being smart, Alec. Of course you can.
There's one more burning question I've got.
Oh, just
one. And then, in my outline, I had 17 points, and we've gotten through 4 or 5 of them.
I was going to say,
we're not going to get through all of them. No, we're already.
That's my fault.
No. We're already 45 minutes in, and you're one of my best guests. You're super fun to talk to. I have an issue with the so-called oligarchy. So when the quote unquote, let's go ahead and be partisan for a little bit, even though I'm super libertarian. I'm like the Thomas Massey kind of libertarian.
Yeah.
I might wear the R after my name a few times, but really it's like Massey doesn't vote with the R's, he just votes his conscience. So I think that Massey would be better served with an I after his name, being independent. So but we have a 2-party system, right?
We do.
In the oligarchy, when the quote-unquote the other side is in power, I've got some pretty big problems with the oligarchy. When I say the oligarchy, you know how people say that we're a democracy, but we're really a democratic republic?
Yeah, I get tired of everybody saying, that we're going to lose our democracy. No, we're not. We're a constitutional republic.
Right.
We're not losing any democracy. In fact, you guys basically spit in the eye of democracy when you installed a presidential candidate without having a primary, where you could have RFK probably be elected as the primary.
Absolutely.
And maybe he would have won presidency.
Absolutely.
That's.
And as a matter of fact, if the Democrats were smart, they would have let their democratic process go through, and then they would have way better candidates.
That's another hypocrisy. We don't have time for that.
We don't have time for it. But I do want to talk about the oligarchy today. I've got a problem, and I want to know if you can either help me with it or shed some light on it. And you can also tell me if I'm totally wrong and I need to rewind.
You give me too much credit to know things.
Listen, I went through your X feed for, I don't know if it was days, hours, days. I went through, it took me forever. My wife is like, are you still on the Cattleman's feed? I'm like, yeah, it's deep, it's thick. I have to go through the comments. I have to figure out who's saying what, I know you're not doing it to entertain me, but I'm highly entertained in like the most complimentary way, meaning
Interesting.
there's so much meat on the bone with what you're doing that this is the reason why I feel so lucky to have you on this pod to ask you this next question. So if I've got a big bitch, a big beef with the oligarchy when a guy like Trump's not in power, I have a new beef with the feds again with Trump in power. Can I tell you what it is?
Yeah.
It's the Epstein List.
Thank you.
I got a big, big, big problem. So here's what my problem is. I've been told, I have read, I have seen over and over and over, overwhelming evidence that there was a man named Jeffrey Epstein that lived. You know, people talk about, like non-believers in Christ. I always say, well, do you believe that there was a man that walked the earth? They're like, well, yeah, I believe that. But whether or not he's the son of man is this big debate, right?
Right.
Jeffrey Epstein was a real person.
Yeah.
There is a place called Epstein Island. There are.
I mean, why is the lady in jail?
Why is she in jail?
Right.
Why was he in jail?
Right.
How in the world?
So we know these things. I agree with
know
you. We know this.
Why is the Trump administration completely reversing course on this and saying, oh, no, there's nothing. We're done. Nothing happened here. We're done talking about it. Why is that happening?
Well, I think I can't answer why that is other than the obvious reasons that we think it is.
Can we talk about the obvious reasons?
We think, people like me and you probably think, okay, there's people that are really high up in power that are either close to him or in his family or himself that may have ties to some of this stuff. That's the obvious question that everybody has.
Yeah.
But the bigger picture that I have is, and I think one of my pin posts might say, hey, admit your faults if you have them. If you get called out on something and you're wrong or whatever, admit it. So if that's the case, Republicans, and I'm speaking directly to Republicans now because they're in charge, admit that some of you people were at fault with this Epstein thing, and let's get it out in the open because the American citizens need to hear it. The other thing that one of the reasons why I think they're not doing it, they claim that it could be a national security issue. Bullshit. You know who the nation's security is? Me and you. And the citizens of the country. We are the security. We are the ones that gave Thomas Massey his job. We are the ones that gave the president his job. It's not the other way around. You know, we are the ones that everyone should be trusting. Us, local people, regular citizens, to do the right thing because we want our country to survive another 250 years. A lot of those people want money and they want to be hidden. They want to look good on camera. They want to look good as a president. They want to look good, as a senator or doing this or that. And something on this list is going to make somebody not look good. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I think that's what it is. And what burns my ass the most of anything is we are the party that's standing up for Title IX and all this, immigration. We're trying to protect our families by keeping illegal criminals from raping our daughters and everything else. Yeah. If we don't have the balls to stand up and protect children from a pedophile ring and get that out in the open, then what are we? Yes. That's the hill I died on in COVID. I'm going to die on it until I die. We got to protect our children because they're our future, period. And they're not doing that with this.
Absolutely. Well said. I'm at a loss. I'm not at a loss for words on the Epstein thing. It is inconceivable to me.
Good way to put it.
That this particular administration got Cash in there, got Pam in there, you got Bongino in there, you got the Don in there. Something is very wrong.
So what happened with Bongino? He was going to back out. Remember, a couple days ago, he's back to work today. I think he was going. So something came up because I went with you. I think that guy was solid. He was like, "Hey, this isn't right. I'm not coming to work." He was trying to blow the whistle, and now he's back to work.
I think those guys rallied around him, and I think he got into a room with Cash and Bondi and Trump, and I think they all looked at him and said, "Dan, you don't know, you may be right, Dan, and you may be like standing firm. But what are you going to do, Dan? Are you going to leave and go back to your pod and write a book and throw us all under the bus? We're going to crush you. You know what you should do? How about you do this? How about we've got 100 huge things we got to work on. 100. And this is one thing. Can you put it to the side and work on the 99 with us? You want to walk away from this because your value system is so strong? And Bongino's like, yeah. Like this is a child rapist ring that we are hiding these people. And I'm not going to do it. And they go, well, then you're just going to have a hard row to hoe. You're going to, they just rallied around him, I think, Steve.
I think you're right.
I think they rallied around him. They got him in a room, and they said, you know what, Dan? You're right. My mother used to tell me when I was a kid, I always thought I was right, okay? I always thought I was correct. And there were times where I was right, but I was inflicting like harm on the family. And which, by the way, I'm all about bringing out the Epstein List. If everybody's going to lose their jobs and we're going to go into a friggin' all-out war over it to protect children and get the child rapist pedophile ring up to light, to surface, to shed light on it, I'm for it. I'll just tell you that right now.
We got to stop it.
Well, you got to stop it, and maybe they're working behind the scenes
tell
to
us.
really. Then
Tell us, hey, we can't bring this information out. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No.
We can't bring this information out, but here's what we're doing. And it is so massively important that we do it this way because we have to stop this.
Then say that.
That's right. Give us some sense of the truth.
Don't say that there's... Pam Bondi is on record, on video, saying I've got reams and reams and reams and reams, and I have to get these things redacted for national security purposes. And then she came out later and said, there's no list.
Right.
Oh, guess what, Pam? You're lying.
Yeah.
You're lying one way
or another.
You were lying before or you're lying now. Which is
Right.
it? And that's the problem I have with the oligarchy. And the oligarchy is, and that's a very nebulous word. It just means power by a small group, right? And we're supposed to be a democratic republic, which we are. But I think this particular thing, you and I were talking about children, like boys going into women's restrooms. That's our red line. You know what I mean? And I think this is my red line. And I'm not going to go into like whether or not the Mossad is involved and like if Israel's ties to America is so tight that the CIA and the Mossad work together, and maybe this pedophile ring is so big because it brings in Great Britain, maybe it brings in other places around the world.
Why wouldn't it?
Why wouldn't it?
Honestly.
Why wouldn't that? I mean,
if it's not just Americans who are that way. And
it's
there's so much money, the oligarchy money, everything like you said. It's not that kind of stuff, that sort of, I'll call it deviant behavior, that doesn't have one political party or one civilization tied to it. It's everywhere.
My mother used to tell me, she goes, Frank, I don't mind you being right. You can be right. Just don't be dead right. And I didn't really know what that meant. I was in my 20s. She would tell me this as a teenager. And I was right about certain things. But then I got to a point where this is the hill I'm going to die on. I wonder if the feds are thinking to themselves, oh crap, we told everybody this list. Everybody knows this is a thing. This could spark some complete and utter disaster where it undermines the entire American system. So if you're in power,
I've thought about that.
If you're in power, it always like, doesn't it always like, new presidents, they get into power, and I figure they've got this big list of things they want to do. I always think of like when JFK got into power, and maybe they sat Kennedy down and they said, Mr. President, I know you want to do all of these things, but here's the problem. And they whisper in his ear. And then he's like, oh, really? It's like that? I didn't know that. When Bush came into power, when Reagan came into power, when all the presidents come into power, they've got the oligarchy, the black hand, the invisible hand, the people who, the deep bureaucracy, the deep state.
Deep state.
Comes in and says, Mr. President, I just want to let you know, this is how it really is. And the president steps back and says, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that's what's happening with the Epstein List.
So I would challenge you on this.
Okay.
I think that's a valid thought. And I will be the first one to admit, hey, Steve, you were an idiot trying to get them to kick that list out. If it comes out in history that this was the right thing to do for our country, and your freedom, your grandkids' freedom, and everybody following, if that was the right thing to do, and they stopped the terrible behavior, then I will be the first one to say, okay, I was wrong about that. But until that time, I'm going to question everything there is about that.
I'll tell you right now, I want that list to come out. I don't care. I don't care. I feel like you know how you were talking about like we are the security?
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of those super, super high up. I'm not talking about local reps and like, you know.
Some of them.
I'm not talking about our local people and, you know, our state reps, our state senators, like the people close to us that like I can call.
Yeah.
I've got some of their cell phone numbers. I can call them and say, hey, I need you for something, or can you give me your opinion? I cannot call Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and the Don. Like, I have no access to them. I have no access to the feds.
No,
and I always have problems with the feds. I have problems last year, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I got problems with the feds now. But I still am willing to, I'm still willing to come out and say as a plebe, as a part of the proletariat, to say, I know there's a list. I know we have a very high-end global cabal that is centering around doing bad things, killing people, like the Palestinians are coming in October 7th and killing the people from Israel. The state of Israel is dropping the heaviest hammers of all and leveling Gaza. You've got Putin invading Ukraine. We've got bunker busters coming from Missouri that flying across all the way and destroying Iranian nuclear facilities. There's all of this crazy stuff that's going on. And so who am I? I'm somewhere between the great foundation of America and a nobody.
Well, but that's the important place to be. I'm telling you, I think that's the important place to be. People, you know, I was reading something about power and talking about it and thinking about it. Who has power? Who, you know, does J.B. Pritzker have power? He did. He wielded power during COVID. But I didn't follow his power. And I'm still here. I'm fine. Some schools that we rallied didn't follow his power, and they were fine. The people in power only have power because it's perceived to them that we give it to them. And don't get me wrong, I'm respectful of authority. You know, the Bible teaches us that, to be respectful of government authority and stuff. And I'm respectful of that. But if President Trump walked in here today, I would be honored to shake his hand and visit with him. But I would see him as a man no different than you are sitting here. And I think that's the difference between a lot of people.
I think you're right.
I do definitely respect him and respect his office, but I think that he should respect what I do in my life and what I've done as much, if not more.
Hear, hear. Do you have anything, any closing remarks?
Well, we didn't really talk about, one thing that I do want to say is, yes, I think people are waking up. You know, our discussions, people hear that, makes them think. We didn't talk about this sort of woke mind virus thing, and I think that's an important thing to just leave it on. That is a thing in this country. Again, I think it's pushed by social media, and it's just like a following mentality. People feel good about including everybody and everything, but we lose track of, the woke seem to lose track of the fact that we have common sense and common decency, whether or not those woke social policies exist or not. You know, you talked about progression and progressivism. JB is the most progressive guy in the world. I like to think of myself as like, who was the guy on Yellowstone that was running for governor? And he's like, I'm the wall that progress bashes against. We have to be that wall sometimes as citizens. We have to let the woke mind virus bash against us and say, you know what, that's still not okay to do that to children or whatever it may be. And I think that's where you got to hang your hat.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I've often said many times that you've got progressivism, and then sometimes what I see is, when the U.S. presidents, our current president, one of the worst things he could tell me, if the President Trump came through that door right now, I would say, Mr. President, with all of the respect of the office and whatnot, even though I think he can be petty and kind of self-serving, I still think he's doing the best job that he can do, and I also think he is the only wall. There's no other wall that I can see. He's the number one wall of what things bash against, and he seems to be unbreakable. As a matter of fact,
I agree with that.
I am shocked at that. I think that what he has put forth has been one of the greatest political comebacks in United States history. And I think that he is the wall that progressivism bashes against. That being said, I would say, Mr. President, if we're $37 trillion in debt, and one of the most important things to me is to go in the opposite direction, how could you put yourself and us in a situation to add another 5T? Why would you do that? That's like something like that. If a Democrat did that, you would tell them, you would say how terrible it is, but the fact that you're doing it, you think it's okay. I'll tell you, Mr. President, and I really would tell this to Mr. Trump, like President Trump. I would say that right to his face. And I'm not saying that, I'm this warrior behind the mic and Trump's never going to see this, so I can say it so I feel tough. No, I'm telling you right now, the woke mind virus, there's all of these like very sinister forces that you can see, and sinister forces I don't think we can see. I think there's so much happening right now between you and I. So you got your cell phone here, I got my cell phone here. You got lights coming in, you got infrared coming from the sun. So yes, I mean, you're hot because you got these lights shining on, the sun's right here, it's permeating through here. So we got a little sweat going on because the air conditioning hasn't hit us, right? Yeah. There's so much going on. And I feel like the woke mind virus it feels like a sinister force. It feels like it's coming from, it feels like it's coming from the underworld. But it's such a weird thing how it's, I find it to be very contagious. And I feel like, it's they call it a virus. Like, I think Elon is the one that coined the phrase. I'm not really sure who coined the phrase woke mind virus, but I kind of feel like it was Elon. Even before he bought X. I feel like it's this thing, it's this massive force that it flies in the face of common sense. Here's how deep it is. If I was taught that 2 + 2 = 4, and I've always known that to be the case, and then I have dozens and scores of people telling me, Frank, 2 + 2 = 5. And if you don't believe that, you're dumb, you're a hypocrite, you're a racist, you're a phobe, and you need to get with the program. And then I think to myself, I go back in the other room and I go, wait a second. I was almost sure that 2 + 2 = 4. I could have sworn this is to be true. And then you'll have someone say, well, prove it. And I'll say, okay, well, I got 2 things and 2 things right here. And I've got 2 here and 2 here. I'm adding them together. I'm counting them as 4. And they go, oh man, you're so racist.
and not only that, but they might cancel you. And by that I mean not necessarily your business. Some of that had happened, but what if they cancel your social calendar? Right? Like so many people had this. They had this way back in COVID too, but they're going to cancel their dinner with you because you and your wife because, well, Frank said this, and man, that's just racist, or he's just not caring. It's all about feelings. The woke is all about playing on your feelings. And not that I don't have feelings. I actually do have feelings. But there's a time when you need to separate that and look at sense, common sense, horse sense on the farm. They talk about, I have horses that are 10 times smarter than a lot of these people going through all this. Like, why are you letting your mind go there? You know better than that. You know that it equals 4. So tell them, you know what? I think that's bullshit. That is not correct, and it's wrong to do to children. It's wrong to do to the other people involved. You're taking the rights away from this girl over here and giving it to this boy that says he's a girl. That's wrong. And that's how you stop the woke mind virus. You stand up and you say, you shed light on it. My friend Shannon Adcock from Awake, she always says, step into the light.
Yep.
We're putting light on this. And what's light? Light kills evil. And we just need to keep putting light on that. And we need to not fear it.
Right.
Fear is a big thing. I mean, you know, I don't fear a lot of things, but I know there's things I fear. I fear for my children and stuff like that. But people are afraid. They're afraid to go against the grain. They're afraid to speak out what they really believe. 80% of the people don't, or 90 probably, don't believe in this woke ideology.
Right.
But they don't say it. Very few people say it.
Right.
You know, people like me say it, and I'm small potatoes. You know, you got Riley Gaines and people like that are a lot bigger. But if Mary Miller, our state, our Illinois representative, she's not afraid to say that stuff.
Right.
And I respect her for that. You know,
She's not afraid.
no, she's not afraid.
No, she's not.
And so I think we have to look fear in the eye and say, I got to stand on my own 2 feet and separate what is right from what is wrong. And it's not really that hard if we would do that. It's not.
Will you come on again someday?
I would be honored to. I mean,
Should have a
will
good
you
time.
have me again?
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's do it again.
Okay,
I've got a
sounds good.
whole. We've got so much more to talk about someday. There's so much more cool stuff to talk to,
Well,
and so thank you so much. You
thank
came
you.
in kind of at a moment's notice, and
all right.
I really appreciate
Worked out.
that. Shout out to Jay McCoy.
Yeah, he's the man.
He's the man. Thanks
is.
to him, and thanks for all the stuff that you do, all the work. So every single time that you're doing work like this, it's very appreciated, and I can't wait to see you on TV again. Doing the
I
good
think my
fight.
15 minutes of fame might be over, but that's all right.
Thanks so much.
Thanks a
See you
lot.
later.
Appreciate it.